Hello, I'm a bit jaded today. You will see a little bit faded and jaded. I had a bit of a car accident yesterday. Not actually driving, but doing nothing really. I'm going to check that video's on. Oh yes. So, I'm a bit wounded and a bit quiet, but I just felt I had to do the video. You know me. I get a compulsion come over me. I'm going to show you my wounds. Look at my arm. See that arm? That's almost black from front to back. The right leg is almost much the same. What happened was, and it's a very strange thing happened, I didn't really feel like going out. I was a bit unwell, but I had to get bread. I came back. Now outside my bungalow here there's a space just on the pavement sort of thing, a little bit of a slope, and the car is running again. It's quite a long car, it's quite a heavy car actually, and a handbrake isn't all that efficient at times. So I've got a good excuse and I should know better. I've got to have it adjusted. So I can come back from being in town, go straight up the little slope outside my back door. It's very front door, very easy. This is what I did, put the handbrake on, got out the driver's door, walked round the car to the passenger, opened the passenger door to get my shopping out, and suddenly I felt the car moving. Silly me, I should have just left it because it only would end up across the road and there isn't much traffic around here, but silly me, I reached in to try and get the handbrake, but of course I couldn't. I couldn't have done it. Fell backwards and under the car. Well, not all of me, part of me. And the front wheel, just thinking about it, I keep having nightmares. The front wheel was rolling back up my leg. I don't know if it went on my body, I don't know why it didn't, and then up my arm. I was screaming. I got a feel it happening. I thought I couldn't do nothing about this. I was screaming for someone to help me to stop the car. Well, because nobody could have stopped it, and I just had to lie there and surrender. I've never felt so out of control in all my life because I could see the wheels. I mean, it's quite a big car, quite a heavy car, and it was just slowly coming out of my leg. And I don't know whether I could have moved. I think I was probably in a panic trying to get his handbrake. And I just had to lay there screaming. And of course, eventually someone did come. Two young men came out who were first responders. And then people gradually sort of gathered around, and I was hysterical, absolutely. Lying on the floor. It was quite cold as well, lying on the stone floor. I wanted to get up, but I knew I couldn't. And someone, people are like, people are very controlling actually. You think they're being helpful, but in fact they're very controlling. Oh, you're going to have an ambulance. So rung for the ambulance. We rung this. We're doing all this to let me feel your pulse. Da, 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 da. And I said, I don't want an ambulance. I'll be all right. I can deal with this on my own if I can just get up and go to bed. Well, maybe they were right. I should have had an ambulance, and I did eventually. But the whole thing was like a control issue. I just felt everyone was very kind and taking over, but they all had their own agendas. Anyway, eventually, I don't know how long it was, a very kind face appeared. It was a delivery man called Carl. He's sweet. He's a delivery man for Amazon, and he apparently used to be a fireman. Well, he is a fireman still. He's got lots of stories about his rescue, and he saved his son's life apparently some years ago. And he appeared, he asked somebody, have you got a wheelchair? Well, nobody had, so he said to me, I'll get your computer chair. Now, I didn't know that he knew I had a computer chair or where it was. Anyway, next thing I know, he's running out with this computer chair, and he gets on his knees and someone's behind me, lift me up onto this chair, wheel me into here, into the front room. I'm kind of I'm kind of dazed, obviously. I was in a state of shock, but I was still compos mentis, as they say. And it was just such a thing, that all these people were being so helpful and very kind, and it shook me actually, because I'm off. Well, you don't know, I do have said before that I don't feel people really care about me very much. Well, of course I don't know anybody really. So I sat there, and eventually the ambulance came two girls and one ambulance man, and they were very, very kind. Ambulance people are very kind, aren't they? Well, I've always found them to be kind. And did all their checks and so forth, and I said, it's okay, I don't want to go to hospital. You know what hospitals are like, you're there for 12 hours. And I thought, stress-wise, it would just be too much for me, I couldn't cope with it. And the pain and everything else, and I said, leave me, just leave me, I'll be all right. I've got all my pills and potions. I didn't say about the self-healing bit, obviously, but I said, just leave me. I don't think anything's broken, that's the main thing. And I honestly think that was a miracle. This car rolling up over my body, nothing's broken. I mean, it's a miracle, isn't it? Yes, bruising, lots of bruising, but when you think that at my age and my bones, they're supposed to be fragile, but I do take calcium, and so all my self-medication sort of paid off really, because I was fairly fit and healthy. In fact, my doctor said I'm as fit as a butcher's dog. I take all these things to keep my body in fairly good condition. But anyway, the other thing is something different. So anyway, there we sat in the front room, these two girls, the ambulance driver and me, on my teaching chair, holding forth. And so I've been thinking about this. Was it for somebody else's benefit or mine? Because they were all very interested in the psychic stuff. I didn't go too deep. I was very good. I just told the stories, the everyday stories I tell you, little experiences and stuff. But they were like, the girl in particular, she was quite in tune. I think the ambulance driver was almost ready to burst out. He's waiting for it. So I felt that it was... I was for an hour, I was talking, and there's me, just having had this accident. Well, not a death door exactly, but I must have been in a different place, mustn't I? I must have been, because I kept going for a whole hour, and they were very, very interested. So I've been reflecting on this, and they eventually left after about an hour. I didn't go to hospital. What I used was arnica for the bruising. Arnica is very, very good for bruising. I've always got arnica. Can you see it? This is worse today than it was yesterday. No doubt it'll be worse tomorrow. Arnica for bruising, and I got hemp cream for the inflammation. So, and I've taken arnica as well, and done all my spiritual bits and asked for help. I was awake all night in a lot of pain. Of course, it's hard to know how to lie down where the pain is. So that's my story today, and I think it's something to do with all this planetary stuff. It's been very heavy going. I do go into astrology a bit. There's a girl, Molly McCow, that's right, she's very, very good. And the stuff is everything's big stuff, clash. And so I thought I was going to escape it, but you see, it goes to prove you can't escape it. You can't. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I've been really contemplating on this. Why did this have to happen? I always ask, what's the purpose? There must have been a purpose, because it's not a thing I have. The handbrake is tricky, but that was pretty intense, wasn't it? To be lying under a car, with the wheels coming over me, it could have killed me. I mean, my hand. You can't see it from there. It was, the wheel went over it, so that half of it was so distended, I was frightened. I thought, if I can't use my hand, that's it, because typing, well, your hand is very important, isn't it? And I thought my hand was going to really suffer. Bit by bit it's coming back, but I can't feel it. It's so bad, so swollen. I'm putting cream on that and doing all the stuff, but to think that a heavy car, this is quite a big car, Renault Megane, went over that hand and it's not broken, that's a miracle. So somebody was looking after me, but also while it was going on, I was praying and using my consciousness to sort of process what was going on, so not to make it as severe. That's what I do when I fall over or have an accident. I always throw my consciousness into the situation. I've got to check the time a minute. I just saw a beautiful light. I've asked him to help me. I wasn't quite sure to do it because I'm not really well enough, but you know me, I've got to communicate, and while I've still got the bruises, I've got some sympathy. So anyone could pray, send a prayer, I'd be very, very grateful. I've written to my daughter, she hasn't replied. I don't, well, of course, what can she do? I think she's just not forgotten, but what can she do? So but this helpfulness, I keep thinking about this particular man, this young man that got me onto my chair, wheeled me in here out of the cold. I mean, if I'd been laying on that ground, that cold ground much longer, to the ambulance, they take ages, don't they? So he got me in here, and I think how kind. How very kind. And there's a neighbour opposite. I don't really know him that well, but he has cut my grass. This is the chap who's cut the grass. And he suddenly turned up. Trumps, he was here, and he got my arnica for me and made a cup of tea, and he was just the gem. And this is somebody else's husband. They don't usually do things like that. He was so sweet. I hope I'm not being suspicious of his friendliness, but he's been exceptional. And he said, I'll check on you tomorrow, which was yesterday. And he did. About mid-morning he came round, are you all right? Unfortunately, I didn't really feel like standing and talking very long, but he was very supportive, and have you got your food? And he was really sweet. I still can't get over it. But of course I did have Sainsbury's online, so I got an order in which came today, so I'm not going to starve. But it's one thing after another. I've just begun to think I was going to get better from this other thing, which nobody knows what it is. The limitations, the lack of ability to walk and stuff. And I just think, oh, I'm picking up a little bit, and this happens. So I'm really contemplating, and I always ask questions. There must be a reason. There are 2 or 3 reasons. One is I had a big fallout with one of my spiritual, I don't know, he's one of the beings that gets me into trouble from time to time. And he's very interfering and causes a lot of trouble, and I had to put in a complaint about him. Whether it's him having to set me up, I don't know. Whether it's just had to be, because one of my things is that nobody cares. Nobody's there for me. I've got no one to help me, and I say it too much. I know I do. So I've been challenging the cosmos to find somebody for me, and of course it's not always the easiest way, is it? They had to teach me this lesson that people are there. They do care. Come out of the woodwork. There was about a dozen people around me, I think. Some I didn't even know. But the funny thing was, when I was sitting on this chair in my little room, these two men in particular were having an amazing argument about who had the best skills. I couldn't believe it. One was an ex-nurse and one was something else. We said we should not move her. Don't I? We rang the police, and they went on and on. I said, do you mind? This is my home. I'm ill. I don't want you two arguing over me. They were really going for it. I couldn't believe it. In the end I said, look, will you please leave? I'm fine. I've got Steve. He's hanging around in the background laughing. He's not laughing, but he was looking quite amazed at these 2 chaps. So off they went. I'm just dreading anyone knocking on my door to see if I'm all right. So I'm going to keep my curtains drawn for a bit. So anyway, the lesson is, be careful what you say, because you get what you ask for, as you well know by now. And I didn't really ask to be hurt or bruised or whatever, but somebody was teaching me something that, hang on, there are people there that care, and we're going to show you. I did think, actually, a few weeks ago I might have to go into hospital. So I got that thought that if I didn't behave myself, something would happen to shut me up. And it often does. Have you noticed that? If you go down the wrong road for too long, something comes along to shut you up, puts you into hospital, or makes you ill, or you have an upset. So it was due. So I guess no matter who caused it or for what the reason, I had to have that very, very powerful lesson that people do care. And it's actually it has kind of shocked me, but that's the moral, I think. Anyway, my darlings, there we go. Lesson for the day. Oh, Lord, now I've got something for tea. So there we go, and just take care and say, watch your belief systems, because they are getting more, I think. We've got Pluto going into Aquarius, which is a huge planet transformation. We're all going to be heading for a big wake-up, whether we are or not. This is what amazes me. I thought I was, but there's always something to learn, isn't there, eh? So let's get back. I don't look very glamorous today. Take care.